Some of you may wonder why insects are such a big deal. Insects can tell you a lot more than people can possibly imagine. Insects bring back whatever they have been in to another location. When they digest it, when they consume it, when they absorb and saturate themselves in it, their little bodies contain the debris from wherever they've been, whether it's through their fecal waste or whether it's something that's made through the contact with them. You can literally use an insect to get somebody's DNA and frame a completely innocent person. If you don't believe insects make a big deal, go down and ask the coroner. Go down to a funeral home and ask the funeral director, because certain things happen to bodies and to flesh and other forms of material they eat or consume themselves with as a result of their contact with it. And you can tell things like the length of time someone's dead, or the type of thing that is allegedly deceased, or something that is being hidden or stored. You can literally use insects to find out things that no robot or human being could find out any better. And they will bring it out from wherever they are. Now think about what it would mean, and I'm not speculating on the fact that anybody might have, but I'm saying it's not impossible. Somebody taking something and throwing it into your yard, throwing it into your storage facility, throwing it into your car, throwing it into your office at work, throwing it in the bathroom or something, and letting insects settle in there and use an insect to criminalize somebody. They just had a little girl that was in the news. Her mother was charged with child cruelty because she had something that happened to her arm and she went in for a medical procedure. And when they went to check the girl, maggots were inside of the little girl's cast. And the mother hadn't even taken her to have the cast changed. Okay? Think about what it means when a fly or something has settled up into a child's arm and taken residence there. That maggot has that child's DNA. That same DNA can be held to later in that child's life, and that can be used to frame a completely innocent person based upon the DNA that was extracted from an insect. A maggot isn't exactly an insect when it's a maggot form, but it's the larvae of an insect. It still amounts to being the same thing. This stuff is serious. They exploit everything in Columbus, Georgia. And some of these creepy criminal detectives who get to hide behind the uniform, hide behind the badge, hide behind a white shirt, are capable of framing an innocent person. And because this is where I was born and raised, and I know how vulnerable these people are, and I know how much they believe in and trust in police, they need to be informed that not all police officers are good police officers. And we're going to defend the ones that are good, which are most of them, 100%. But we need to weed out these criminal detectives. We need to weed out criminal police officers. They work for us and our security and our safety. And if they're doing anything to contribute to incivility or injustice, we don't want them. And so this is very serious. So when you see abnormal insect movement wherever you are, find out what that's all about. And the more poverty issues come into play, where people don't have proper hygiene and where people don't have adequate resources to stay clean, or where there's unsanitary conditions or other types of conditions that challenge the idea that you can stay orderly, it becomes even worse. An insect will settle up anywhere. I don't care how clean you think you are. I don't care how affluent you think you are. Everybody can have an insect problem. Anybody can be framed in these ways. Anybody can take something from the hospital, a finger digit, a piece of flesh from surgery or anything, and throw it just about anywhere. And I'm just trying to make you guys aware of how serious this is, because they're coming to the court and saying the DNA says it was her. The DNA says it was him. We need to make sure that that DNA is legitimate. We need to make sure that the chain of custody and all the handlers are legitimate. We need to make sure that that DNA is not tampered with and altered and modified like a lot of them are engaging in. And a lot of it starts with those damn detectives who collect that evidence from the very beginning. Because the medical examiner and the coroner are going to come in and tell them what they think that scene looked like. They're going to file their reports, and they're going to let the detectives and the investigators bag it and inventory it, and then they're going to go submit it to the DNA, to the district attorney, the DA, to request prosecution based upon what they believe they find in a crime scene that says that the law has been broken, and that prosecutor is going to determine whether charges need to be filed or what charges need to be filed based upon what those detectives, those damn detectives, bring into them. And if those damn detectives are corrupted, look at what they can do to a community, look at what they can do to a state, look at what they can do to a nation and a world. And for all of the detectives out there and all the investigators, the legitimate ones that do the job with integrity, I'm fighting for you, I'm battling for you, because all it takes is one detective that's bad to make every one of you look like you never did what you were supposed to. And I'm actually fighting for you, not against you. If these detectives are not going to do what they're hired to do with a sense of integrity, we don't want them in Columbus. People base a lot of human behavior on the study of insects. See, insects are not like human beings where they just loiter and they prowl just looking for something to do, something to mess with, something to get into. Something brings them there. And human behavior is such that if you can come up with something that everybody believes or that they're into or that they're afraid of, you can draw them into a given area. That's why the celebrity world and the entertainment world has become so popular. That's why the politics are the way we see them now, because something about people giving them some inspiration and optimism for hope for the future and the quality of their lives, it makes people interested and they go to it. When it comes to insects, something brings them there. There's some food, there's something sticky, there's something that's been sprayed as a mist. There's something that brings them there. Now, some insects are going to settle up regardless. They just look for places that are easy to get to and easy to survive in, if you will. But when you're talking about a large consumption of insects, where you see like a chain of them or something, or a nest of them, something brought them there. Now, some insects can feed off of one another. So the death of one of those insects can be the cause of what brings more insects, because they'll eat one another. But something brings those first ones there. Now, this is what I want you to consider before you think that that means that everybody put something there. Sometimes people dump insects and dump insect populations in certain places. A dirty detective or somebody doing an investigation can dump insects intentionally to try to see if those insects are going to bring back something that shows that something was dead or decomposing or whatever. A creepy ass story they can sell to make somebody look like they might be guilty of something, so that they can be on TV telling stories, so they can make themselves famous talking about some creepy story from the local town. There isn't that much going on around here that's heinous, that is not police involved, that's not law enforcement involved. And it takes specific kinds of people to want to do something like that in the first place. Now, the question is always, if they're telling us something, what's the part that they haven't told us yet? Now, if we've reached as much as we've reached in terms of our public depictions and our public perceptions about this Cape St. Eupatoy, and we don't really have any legitimate evidence that we've actually seen yet, what does that tell you about what a detective and some investigators can do to public psychology? They could be completely lying to us. We haven't seen anything and we believed it. They did vigils, they did prayers, and nobody even really knows. And that's why this is important. And the press will run with it because it's gruesome. Everybody in the sanctity of their home, and somebody breaks in and beats them to death. And it makes you start thinking about all the people you did wrong, all the people that were your enemies, all the people you mistreated, somebody that wants revenge, somebody you did something bad to that you think is going to come back and get you one day, the devil or whomever. A detective and an investigator in the press gone wild can do something like that. Shouldn't we wait to get some information so we can legitimize what we're going to believe first? If you're going to pray, shouldn't you know what you're praying about for sure first?